extremely well this 3rd of February. Yeah, welcome to the chat. This is your first time here. Obviously, I am JB, and get into this amazing community. That's the first thing to say, really. Apologies, I've got to lock it because I've got an horrendous cold, so I'm sucking on a sweet right now. No, nothing bad there, but I've got this horrendous cold, and it is a pain in the arse. So look, get into this amazing community. Oh, this camera's doing my head in already. Get into this amazing community. Dino is in the house, legend. Look, be respectful to the community. Be respectful to the moderators. Be respectful to yourselves. I think that's important. I think that sometimes get missed. I think people sometimes do a disservice to themselves. I know people, but look, just get into it. Look, be respectful to me. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out. We don't like to do it, but we absolutely will. Also, I'm not a dictator of this chat. This is your show as much as it is mine. So look, I really do read out your chats, and if I come back on it, look, I apologise sometimes if I do come across as rude, but look, I do respect the opinions, and that's why I do read out your views. Dino is already in the house. STJ, morning, blooming man flu. Exactly. No, this is why I have to make sure that I'm okay. Scott is in the house, legend, as well. And look, Just Human says, quick question. If you had to give one advice to an introvert and social anxious people out there, what would you say? So Just Human, look, mate, I sympathise. I used to be one of those people, believe it or not. It's difficult. I think if you are one of those people that is socially anxious, it's all about taking. Henderson account says it's great to finally be here. Look, the most important thing is that you put yourself in a situation that is comfortable. When I first started to do this, and exactly that, it's important. Like when I first started to do this, and I mean, look, I was very not lucky, but I got another channel, and I practice on that, right? As these guys on here have said, you've got to. It's trying to find a way to get yourself comfortable, and I think you're right. Even if it's like a martial art, some sort of sport, but don't feel like you need to just stand in a crowd of people. You've got to, in my view, you've got to take it slow, right? So put yourself out there, and I think sometimes social anxiety is because you almost overthink it, right? You almost think about, first of all, what people are going to think about you without giving people a chance. So I think these guys are right. I'd say my biggest from personal experience is just take it slow. Surround yourself with people that you feel comfortable with, in a situation that you feel comfortable with, and then build it up from there. And again, even if you don't feel that that's right, you still got to take it slow. So look, good luck to you. I really hope that you kind of start to build something. And look, this is the perfect community to get into. Very, very, very supportive, and these guys in here are absolute legends. So feel free to stay in the chat and feel free to give your opinion. So look, what do we want to start off with today? So look, this is like, we're going to go through the preview of Spurs again. The corresponding fixture wasn't that great. Look, we know how Spurs are going to play, but we will go through the Spurs stuff. But look, the first place to start, Jim and the Glazers are Belen, says Scott. Look, where do we start? So look, David Ornstein, whether people like it or not, David Ornstein gets fed things from the club, directly from the club. Now, I know a man's got to eat, right? It's David Ornstein stuff. He look, when he talks, I would listen if I was you, because I would listen on the basis that you can then come back. Exactly, Scott. If we pick up a few injuries, then we're screwed. I would go back and listen to David Ornstein for good and for the bad. If you go back to the summer window, David Ornstein was being fed by the club, and David Ornstein is a little bit of a mouthpiece, and he puts out there what he's told to. So David Ornstein during the summer, basically on a podcast, said that whatever signings United don't do in the midfield, they'll push it onto this window and they'll look to do something in this window. As we all know, that transpired hasn't happened. And I'll give you my opinion on that as well. There's 14 games to go. It's bound to happen at some point. And I know one of the reasons why it hasn't happened, we are cutting the edges real fine on injuries right now. It's bringing some youngsters in from the reserves to the bench to blood them. Nikarutsu is in the house, legend, mate. I think we're all doing extremely well, buddy. I've got a little bit of a man cold. I know, don't worry, I'm okay, guys. We know it's a deadly thing, but it's okay. One of the things that we spoke about, and I think on this community, we all knew. I was told, but irrespective of whether I was told or not, this community is a logical community, is an intelligent community, and many of you predicted this as well. And we predicted because of history, we predicted this because we know what this club is like. Brown Knight legend, what did I miss? Man cold is a serious virus that affects us. Exactly. 33 days till I go away, so hurry up. Scott, mate, legend, buddy, he's going off again on his travels. So look, we knew this. Now, one of the reasons why I don't believe, Yatad says, good day, my lad. Good day, buddy. Now look, I absolutely get, and I'm going to transition here. Look, I'm not going to keep talking about the summer window because it's, well off into the distance, right? XD says, good morning, JB. Can't wait for the Glenios spins fans again to the summer. So Jackie, shit community, perfect women. They all have misses and children at home. And the one was so. Do I disagree, or do I agree with the fact we should have just made a signing for the sake of a signing? I'm somewhere in between. I think we should have made a signing that would have moved the conversation on. We should have at least got it signed that would have been a competent sign. And look, this is only based on we need bodies. All right? Now, where this is now important, and one of the reasons why we didn't make a signing, no hassle towards UJB, but these idiots are fucking scumbags. But I know, mate, that look, I know there's no hassle towards me. Look, one of the things I think it's important to acknowledge is that the reason why we didn't make a signing, Henson says, I hate early kickoffs more than I hate Spurs. Yeah, I know, right? So one of the reasons we didn't make a signing was monetary, right? And Nick says we should have made a signing for the sake of making a signing. Our squad's literally skin and bones. All we need is an injury on Wilshere. Sky blue is not my colour. Might be massive shout, but I'm expecting 350 to 400 million being spent in summer because we need depth. XD wave. I'm going to break your heart now. That is not happening. Signing for the sake of signing is a waste of funds. We don't have. Arguably, we need a defensive midfielder. And look, this is where we are. And after learning what has come out today, we need every penny we can. So look, I'm going to mention this again, and then look, I'm not going to go over the summer window because look, we are 14 games into it, but I think it's important to acknowledge whose money exactly, and we need new owners. So the reason why we didn't spend it in this window, even though we all know we need, the club know, simple mathematics. We are from Brown Knight, Sheikh Jazim, is that you? I love it. The end of the financial year last year, we lost 34 million pounds. Q1 we lost another 13, so we've lost another 50. We're going to lose money from this season between 60, 70 to I think it's about 80 million. So that puts us somewhere around 130 million mark, a loss. That's before we started. So we need to bear that in mind. The transfer debt, we can talk about the amortization. You know, yes, some of the transfer debt will be paid off, but not enough. So we're going to incur another 130 million pound loss. Now that is a massive factor. And again, not if we win the league. And look, you know, there are ifs and buts, right? If we win the league, if we qualify for the Champions League, look, then possibly, well, that will. But we're not going to see the impact. We're not going to see the impact of, you know, you're going to have the Casemiro segment. I'm kidding. Chill, JB. Look, I'm completely chill, my friend. So look, whatever players we sell or the wages are not going to take into effect until the season after. Whatever we make this season is going to go and pay off debt. It's going to go off to pay the transfers that we previously had, the bad spend. We are suffering now from lack of success. So when you combine that all together and the austerity, United are not going to spend big in the summer. Now look, I've not plucked this out of my arse. This is what I've been saying for quite some time, that I don't see how we spend this fictitious cash when we're still paying off the debt. We're still paying debt, interest payments. We're now going to be, you know, at a conservative amount of money, we've lost another 100 million pounds. It's going to have to be sell to buy. On top of that, look, you know, again, I'm going to keep on mentioning this and calling this out, is we've had channels talking about we're going to sell 5, buy 5, sell 6, etc. How are we going to sell these players? You know, Casemiro, his contract is up. He's left on a free. He hasn't been sold. Malacia, he'll leave on a free. Maguire could leave on a free. Will he leave on a free? I don't know. But the wages should be pretty much, not gone. Rashford potentially could go. Per Ramadan says, hello from Indonesia. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And Rashford, Højlund as well will probably go. So look, we do get some funds in potentially, but we will still need to cover the 130 mil before we've even looked at a transfers. Now we have made a loss. So Ornstein and SDJ says Barcelona are rumoured to be backtracking on the buy clause, and look, that's exactly that. You know, that's been around the industry for quite some time as well. That Barcelona literally want Rashford, I think something like £17 million. They're basically trying to get him on a free. It's absolutely ridiculous. So Brian says, I went back to rewatch last night's stream. We may have had different ways to support the club, but doesn't mean either one of us loves the club any more or less. I'm sorry if no, look, as I said at the end of the show, look, I appreciate it, and look, I apologise as well. Look, whatever we say on here gets left on here. You know, that we can agree to disagree on things. Doesn't mean that people love the club more than, like, you know. But look, whatever we say on here, sometimes the words are fraught. But it's just because we're passionate about the club, and whatever we say on here ends on here. And tomorrow is a brand new day. So look, mate, I really appreciate it, mate. You are a legend. But look, there's no need to apologise. All done and dusted. So David Ornstein. So whether we like it or not, David Ornstein gets stuff. So the reason why I've gone through all of that stuff is because David Ornstein this morning, as a mouthpiece of this club, has basically said, don't expect much activity in the transfer window. Now, let those words sink in. Now, we get told there's no value in the market in this window, but we spent £200 million. If we want to, as many of you have said, and look, I do agree with some of the things. Look, I think that we should win the league every single season. I say this pretty much every single show. We need to push for that, right? Do I think we can? No. But if our aspirations, as many of us now accept, and look, I was very staunch in my view that we'd finish somewhere between 8th and 10th. Look, I've got to give it up to you guys on here who were talking about finishing 4th and 5th all season. Look, you guys are right. However it's happened, however I think it's happened via luck or, you know, the facts are we are. So the fact that we're already lining the fan base up, or we're lining up the fan base again for a quiet summer window, look, we will be spun around. There is no doubt. Channels will be on here for clicks, spinning us round and all that stuff. But the fact that David Ornstein is already saying and lining us up that we will absolutely not be making, you know, we're not going to be spending. We're not going to be spending. We're not going to be sending. We're not going to be spending the amount of money. No offense with UJB, but I'm not allowing. Mate, Jackie, mate, I literally have no idea, buddy, what you're talking about. I've look, the reason why I've not responded, buddy, is because I literally have no idea what you're talking about, mate. Look, if you wanna send me an email or something, I literally have no idea what you're talking about, mate. So you need to give me an update, buddy, because I have no idea what you're talking about here, mate. So look, let me know, because I have no idea. So look, we're not going to make any. Look, we're going to make signings, but for those of you or us who think that we're going to be spending £400 million, irrespective of the Champions League, I think you're going to be in for a very, very, very big surprise. And look, we'll get on to the next part as well, because I think that lines up with the Carrick and the manager situation as well. But let me go through your chats, and then we'll go back on that. So let me go through your chats, guys. Let's have a little look. Let's go through the chat. Might be a massive shout, but I'm expecting £300 to £400 million in the summer. I don't think that's going to happen, mate. Whose money you going to spend £500 million on? Exactly. I do think £250 million is a dream. Is it in football? Not just, it's in all football, not just United. I despise the Glazers, but United is too valuable for overall the tax benefits to them to sell for market value. It's going to take some kind of sporting group, or gods forbid, a Middle Eastern billionaire. And look, you're right. Look, the Glazers don't want the market value. If I was in their position, would I want the market value? Look, based on their plans, based on the regeneration, based on the amount of land, based on what potentially this could be, they're never going to sell for the market value. Look, whether I agree or disagree with that, that I disagree. I disagree with, and this is the one thing that sort of bugs me, is that the Glazers won't sell for a fair price, even though nothing has been built yet. The Glazers won't sell for a fair price. They want top whack, but they're not prepared to pay a fair price to the people that own the land. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to force a compulsory sell on those people, so they can get their land for not a fair price. So let's just say now, that land was worth 50 million. They're gonna want more. They're gonna want 250 million, right? So United don't want to pay that. The Glazers don't want to be fair and pay that price. So you're right. You are so right. Ineos and the Glazers are desperate for Champions League. It's not about football. It's about the money. Yes, it is. Dina says the old saying, digging a hole, comes to mind. It's more like the club threw itself into the Grand Canyon. Barcelona are rumoured to be backtracking. Yes, they are. Will the potential fund pay the current debt? I think that whatever transfer money we get is going to go into paying off the transfers. They will not pay off the debt. The debt will not get paid off until somebody decides to pay that debt. So look, whether or not a future sale depends on that debt being cleared, whether the Glazers pay the debt. It's almost a bit like, right? What this is, if a sale happens, and look, a sale could happen, that price is going to be added on. So it's a bit like recently, the reason why food costs more, the reason why everything costs more, is because the government said to companies, look, you need to pay your staff more. So the price of staff has increased, NI has increased. So companies bake that into the products. They don't pay it. They may pay it, but ultimately the consumer pays it. So then what's going to happen with this debt is the reason why they want so much more money is because that's going to be baked into the debt. So they're never going to pay off the debt. Did the Glazers and Ineos say there won't be any transfers in these windows? David Ornstein. So David Ornstein has come out today, and you've got to accept this. David Ornstein is the mouthpiece of this club. He gets stuff from this club. So when he puts stuff out there, whether it's a lie, whether it's a spin, whether it is the truth. Now, David Ornstein loves a spin. Like, I know David Ornstein is seen as the GOAT. I've got to respect the career, but I think David Ornstein at times is full of shit. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about getting these people on this channel for clicks, right? I say it like how it is, and David Ornstein has put so much shit out from this club that, look, he gets stuff. And the reason why I say to listen to David Ornstein, irrespective of whether it's the truth or not, David Ornstein gets stuff from the club. So if you want to know, if you want to get ammunition to call out the club, listen to Ornstein, because Ornstein will give you ammo for when it's not true. He doesn't do it on purpose. But when David Ornstein is saying that this club is going to push transfers into this window and it doesn't happen. He's been fed that from the club. You know he's talking bullshit. So, look, David Ornstein today has basically said this club don't expect massive changes into the summer. And that's come from him. Look, could he be doing the reverse? Could he be saying it because United are going to put it out there now because they're not guaranteed to get top 4? That is a possibility. But right here and now, David Ornstein is putting out the club do not are basically putting it out there. Do not expect any major signings. And the signings that we're going to do, don't expect a Glazer and an Anderson. Anderson, forget that. Just forget it. It's not going to happen. I think we're talking here about a Stiller and or a Glazer and or a Hackney. And look, if those are what we get, those are what we get. XD says the midfield are just skin and bones. Exactly. Do you think the man could cut his hair finally after? Mate, look, Guru, I respect the opinion, buddy, but I really don't care. Mahu says hi. Letting McTominay go was one of the biggest mistakes United have made in the last decade. I agree with that. I do agree with it. I think at the time, I think that a lot of people in this fan base wanted him to go. And look, I'm not going to lie. I will always tell the truth. I was one of those people who I understood the work ethic of him, a bit like Kobe Mainu, right? I didn't understand what McTominay was. I always thought that McTominay should play further forward. We were always told that he's this number 8, number sort of 6, and I didn't know, a bit like a Kobe Mainu, what his true position was. But Napoli have found his position, and if we'd have been seen, and I blame the coaches here. If you didn't put McTominay in his correct position, if we had have done that, we, as a fan base, we would have kicked off. I think the problem was that we played him in the wrong position. The moment that McTominay was put in the right position, he's shown what he is. So I completely agree with you. I think as fans, it's sometimes difficult to make a judgment on a player when they're playing in the wrong position. You look at Bruno, right? Bruno was playing an 8. Look, Bruno Fernandes, whatever I say, whatever anybody thinks of him, he was playing it as an 8. He's not an 8. He's playing back in the 10. Has he been fantastically amazing? He's been much improved. His assists are there. So it just goes to show, if you play players in their correct position, and that's what we didn't do. I think the club failed him. And look, selling him for 35 million, we got absolutely mugged. Is Managerial playing against Spurs? I don't know, Praveen. I thought when Managerial came on, I thought he looked rusty. Do I think Managerial is going to start against Spurs? No, I don't. I don't think he will do. I think he looks rusty. I think he will play, but I don't think Managerial right this second is going to be a starter. I'll give you an email and I'll send you. Thanks, buddy. Look, Sir Jackie, mate. Look, I have no idea, buddy. But I will read the email. And look, mate, thank you for bringing it to my attention, because there are things on this channel that we will not accept. So look, I appreciate it. We will be lucky if we make one major signing in the summer, and that's if we sell 3 or 4. We will be linked with everyone that uncalled the dog, but we're signing F4 until we generate the revenue. Agreed. No value in the market. The old chestnut, exactly. We were saying in November we wouldn't make any signings. Summer signs will only happen if we sell to buy. Damas says, thanks, brother. If we win all the games, we can win the league. And look, I don't share that view. right? I don't think that we're going to win a league. Look, it's going to take for Arsenal to properly bottle the league. Mathematically, are we still in a race? Yes. Conceptually, are we still in a race? Yes. But logically, are we in a race? No. But look, it doesn't mean you guys can't. Look, I would love you guys to be right. But again, I think it's very, very premature to predict winning a league. We finished 15th last season. Our aim should be top four. Anything else right now is a bonus. If we get top four, doesn't matter if this is a crap season, doesn't matter if inconsistency. If we get top four, I don't care, right? Let's aim for top four, and what anything else is a bonus, because I never expected us to be in a top four race. I predicted all season that we finished between 8th and 10th. I'm wrong. Am I wrong in terms of we may finish in that position? Yes. But I'm wrong in terms of I never thought we'd even get into a top four race. So let's aim for top four. And then whatever else happens, it's a bonus. Glazer plan with United stock, hold until you make it. Exactly. Hi from Manchester. Gay community in New York. We love your channel. Look, welcome. Absolute legendary. Look, we any orientation doesn't matter on this channel, buddy. We are supporters on here. Well, I am anyway. Look, so everybody is welcome, and look, the more diverse people I think we bring into a conversation. Look, at the end of the day, we're all fans, right? So look, mate, I absolutely appreciate you, and thank you for being on the channel, Jammer. Appreciate it, buddy. Just what I says, what a silly question. If everyone above wins, yeah. Arsenal need to lose 5, exactly. Danny is in the house. STJ says the best analogy being sold is like buying a week-old car, but not only paying the purchase price, but also paying the last owner's finance. I love that, buddy. Exactly. I love it. I love it. The mouthpiece of the club. He is. Friends. David Ornstein. United friends. Friends. Sorry. The minimum wage is a myth. Most people are above it before it was set. As soon as their minimum, a lot of companies drop the wages to the minimum. Yeah, look. It's just an analogy. That companies, whatever costs a company absorb, they don't absorb the cost, they pass it on to us. Sky is in the house. Big up for Sky, absolute legend. Dennis says Nikarutsu. Well, it's not greeted like that. You've got no chance with her. She likes people that had a wash. Dino got patched like a French dinghy with no. Oh, Jesus. It's a World Cup year means shortened window. Yeah, I don't disagree. Ray Simpson said the fact that Baleba has down tools, yeah, it does concern me as well. I'll let you guys do that. Lee Vincent says you've turned your season around, I think. And Lee Vincent, look, I think have we turned our season around? I think that we have. We definitely, right. The season around. I think now we've given ourselves the season around. I think we've given ourselves a good chance. So let's get through the next 4 games. In fact, let's get through Spurs. If we go through Spurs, we win. Everton, we win. West Ham. Look, if we get through those games. But look, I do agree with you. Have we turned the season around? I think we've started to. I think we have. And look, we will get on to the Spurs game as well. But look, I think we have. Okay, I have a. Mamu Sangera is much better than Baleba, who played better in AFCON. Bruno is so inconsistent on his day. Brilliant off it. Fucking goddamn awful. Hope you do, Spurs, says Lee. Thanks, buddy. Can't stand them Spurs lot. Same. Celtic being a scumbag. Women not on my watch. My wife's a Spurs fan, in a Karutsu. John McQueen says, if we win the league, I will personally shave my arsehole with a broken bottle. I mean, look, you don't need to do that. John, is not something that I'm going to hold you to, but let's hope they don't win the league, mate. Need to respect towards male or female, towards each other. Yes, I agree. Fourth will be a good result given how things have been. Third would be fantastic. Anything else is in the lap of the football gods. In an alternative reality, Arsenal bottle it. We win the league. City are charged and relegated to League Two. If we finish fourth with the squad we have, imagine if we invested in the squad. It's disgusting that a girl can't speak on YouTube without getting flirted with. And look. I'm not quite sure what's going on in the chat, by the way. I do not know. Only thing I'm going to say on this channel is, look, this channel is built on respect, not only opinions, but people's sexuality, people's gender. Look, I've got 3 daughters, so look. The one thing to say is, look, I absolutely cannot disrespect anybody on this channel. I've got 3 daughters, so look, guys, I don't know what is happening. So look, just all I'm going to say. This channel is built on respect, and look, that has to be maintained. Harry says United all of the way. Okay. Herbie says, how do JB? Hope you're keeping well. I don't know if I'm cut out to be. Any flirting or disgusting behaviour should be banned. Look. If anybody, look, let me know. Let me know. Look, if anything untoward is happening, look, as a moderation group, look, let me know as well. JB, you need to put a stop to certain behaviour, comments toward other people, team colours. Look, guys, Hayden, football fan. Look, guys, you're gonna. Look, all I'm saying is, look, let's just keep it football for now. If we've got issues, let's try and air them away, because otherwise, I am going to have to take steps. Look, I've got no choice but to take steps. So look, all I'm going to say is, look, sort it away offline, because otherwise, look, this channel will get strikes, and I will have to take action. Simple as that. So look, sort it out. Otherwise, I am going to have to take action. I've got zero choice on it. So look, let's keep it to football for now. That wasn't a go, JB, in any way, but I see people calling it. Look, Ray, mate, I don't take it as a pop at me. But look, I get people make comments. As a community, all I'm going to say is, look, I don't want to stop interactions. I don't want to stop people from being themselves. But look, if this continues, then look, I'm gonna have to do it. Seamus says soccer fan. And look, if people are defending people, I've got no issue with that. Let me know. And look, I do admire people that stand up for themselves, stand up for their families. Got no problem in that. But just look, let me know. Tell you what, Nightbot is gonna have to come back in. But look, I'm not calling people out. Okay. All I'm going to say is, look, if there's any disrespect, look, it's got to stop. Okay. Otherwise, the Nightbot comes out, and I'm going to have to let automation sort it out. But look, I'm not disrespecting people's opinion. I'm not disrespecting your right to protect your girlfriend, etc. But let's, look, let me know, and we can sort it out. So look, what I wanted to say, and look, one of the reasons why it is important to acknowledge all of this. No signings in the window, limited signings as it would appear during the summer. Mate, look, let it go, mate, because look, I am not saying that you're at fault, right? I'm not saying that you're at fault. I'm not saying that you're to blame. I respect the fact that you're sticking up for people. But this is not the place to do it. I get it, but you're impacting the stream, mate. You're impacting my show, so I completely respect it. I'm not saying that you're wrong for doing it, but you're stopping my fucking show. So look, if there are any issues, then all I'm going to say is, look, maybe you need to take a break. Because as much as I respect you and I will respect the chat, you're stopping my show. So, look, I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to acknowledge it. So, look, I'm not disrespecting the opinion. What I'm saying to you is that, mate, look. So, Jackie, buddy, look, just go, mate. Look, look, I've asked you. Just go, buddy, because there is no point. You're not overtaking my show. If there are issues, as I've already said, I respect the opinion. Feel free to go. Yeah, I'm done with it. So look, one of the reasons why I have said that I'm talking about players and talking about the lack of signings. It's basically because we are being lined up for a Carrick. As we've spoken about before, we've spoken about who's going to take over, right? Who's going to take over in this community? Who's going to take over this community? Who's going to take over? Who's going to take over this club, right? So which manager? Sorry guys, I'm just sorting things out for a minute. I've had enough. This show's bigger than people. I've just had a fucking enough. As they say, be careful who you. There you go. Done. Yeah, he's gone. Look, I'm not having people take. Look, this is not just about an individual person. I get people get pissed off, but they've gone. I have no idea. He's gone clearly, and Sky's gone as well. I just can't be. I just can't. This isn't an episode of fucking EastEnders. If you want an argument with people, piss off, because there are other places. So, done and dusted. I really don't care. So it literally, I've got 3 kids. It literally is like dealing with my children. Without funds, we will not attract the top flight names. It's set up, provided don't screw the pooch. For Carrick to take full time, this has always been the plan, and that in itself. And I agree with you completely. Agree with you completely. This is going to be my point, right? Is that this has been lined up for Carrick to take over. As we've spoken about on here, and many of us have spoken about, Herbie, I know, mate, it's weird. Like this is not an episode of fucking Emmerdale Farm, right? Crazy. So we've been spoken. We're speaking on here about who's going to take over as coach, right? You're talking about Tuchel and Ancelotti, a Glazer, a Roller, etc. XD, would I take Enrique in a heartbeat? 100%. Yes, I would. Now, there are 2 scenarios, because I get asked it and we get asked it. There are 2 scenarios for me. Number 1, if you're going to sign players and you're going to be ambitious and sign 4 or 5 good players and invest in this squad, then go and get the best that you possibly can. No, Carrick, look, I like Carrick. Dino says, I love you, JP, mate. I love you too, Dino. If you're gonna sign some of the best players, go and get the best coach. Look, Carrick, as much as I support him, Carrick is limited. You can see that already. Maybe Carrick will improve, but you can already see the frailties, and look, whether or not that is the squad, maybe Carrick again needs better players. But right here and now, for me, Carrick is not long term. However, if we're not going to invest in players, as I think we're not going to invest in players, look, Mason Mount isn't going anywhere at all. Luke Shaw is going nowhere at all. A Dallo is not going anywhere at all. We're going, a chunk of these players that probably need to go are not going to go. Ugarte, maybe he'll go on loan, but again, he can't be sold. Xerxes, will he go? So look, I think if all we're going to do, if the only thing that the plan is to bring in 2 or 3 players into the squad, and I'm not talking about world class players here, then give it to Carrick, because the lack of ambition. Look, I think one of the fundamentals to take away from this is that there is no money. So look, I think there are 2 paths here. But as David Ornstein said, I think we've got to keep on talking about this. I think we've got to keep on banging on this, is that it looks like we are being set up for Carrick to come in to run this club. This would be perfect, absolutely perfect. So look, everything we've spoken about leads up to a perfect storm. And again, the whole loaning out is going to bite us on the arse rather than late. Exactly. And what we are seeing now, look, and I will go back up. Kone is left. He's gone on loan, right? But one of the models that United are trying to follow is that you buy youth for cheap and sell them on. So at the moment, as much as we are clamoring for the youth to come through, the tactic of this club is going to be to buy a bunch of youth players for cheap, sell them on. It's going to be quantity. Now, if you've got, let's just say you buy 10 youth players, somewhere between 5 to 10 million pounds, you sell them each at 15 million pounds, 50 million pound profit. That is what I think the plan is. SDJ says, I would love to have Emery. The man is tailor-made for where we are right now, but he needs at least 100. So Carrick is what we get. And I'm with you. If I could pick any coach right now, Emery would be the guy. I think knowing what this club is going to do, I think Enrique would be also a very, very good pick of what he's done with PSG. But I think PSG have better youth than us. I think PSG had or have better younger players. So I think that Enrique would be a great choice, but I think Emery would be the one that I think we need. He can work with a smaller, he can work with a lesser squad. I do agree that he would need some players, but I think Carrick is basically the one. He's not for me. Henderson says, I think Carrick is a happy accident so far. Yeah, Kone has gone on loan. The whole loaning out is going to bite us on the arse. I do agree. We're becoming a feeder club. So basically becoming a Dortmund. Greetings from Istanbul. Thanks, buddy. We are basically becoming Wolves or Brighton. And that is exactly, even Crystal Palace signed a Larson. So Mateta, I think Mateta went to AC Milan, didn't he? The Old English. I think Leewood says, hi, I've seen more positive energy in the team than the last 3 matches. I go home and away for nearly 40 years. I'd also take Emery at United too. I hope we can keep up the results. And look, Leewood, I'll always stop and say this, Leewood. I believe a fan is a fan is a fan. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. But I do have to give a special mention, a big shout out to match-going fans. And the reason why I do give big shout out to the match-going fans is because, look, you're the guys and girls who go to the games every week, home and away. I think it's particularly difficult to go away. Finished 15th last season. I don't think the results up until now have been great, and you've had to endure that. It's easy for me to sit here, watch the games in the comfort of my own home. I still feel it, but I think when you go to games and you have that commitment and you physically go to the games, you spend your money to get to the games, travel, food. People say, well, you don't have to do it, but when it's a passion. So look, massive respect. And look, I do agree with you. I think this team, I think this team thrived on being told they're great. Long gone at present is the talk of performance, the talk of excellence, the talk of this team evolving. What this team is right now, and I think Carrick understands this. I do. I'll give him his props on this. I think he knows how to manage this group of players. These players need their tummy tickled. These players need to be told how amazing they are. These players are not interested in becoming the best of the best. These players are not interested in the pursuit of winning things. I think these players are in the pursuit, and not all of them. I think most of these players are in the pursuit of their own careers. I don't think these players are. You're not going to win the Champions League with this set of players. You're not going to win a league with this set of players. These players, I don't think, are obsessed with winning. This has been said many times. Interviews have been put, into the ether about these players. They find it hard, right? And this is probably the best example. Twice this season, statements have come out. Well, not statements, but things have come out. Whether you choose to believe it or not, So Ericsson did an interview as well, and everything is always the pressure. These players feel the pressure of the club. The weight of this club is so difficult. It's so hard. I get that. I get that. But as Leewood says there, right? The pressure should be an honour. Now, is there? You look at Shesko, right? That goal that he scored, right? Even said himself, the noise level, right? That will be an addiction. As a striker, seeing those fans, the joy and hearing that noise of those fans should be an addiction. The pressure. It should be a career highlight to play for this club and experience that. How can it not inspire you to be running, sprinting down a wing, crossing into the box, a power header into the back of the net, a piece of skill? This club will always and the fans will always back you, right? But this club is not. We don't care. So look, Carrick, I think where he's got it right is I think he knows these players, and I think we have to be wary. I do. Hence, I said I thought the Milan deal fell through. What's Old England's chances at the World Cup? Look, I'm not English. I'm Welsh. So, look, I don't have a dog in the fight. Do I think what England have got a chance of winning the World Cup? I think at the moment England have every chance, but even if they do, look, I will acknowledge it. My children and my other half are English, so they'll be happy. Bro, last match day final touch was crazy. We lived off of the club's history for far too long. Exactly. We're trying to keep our head above water these days. There are very few of the current team that have pride and love for the shirt they wear, for the aims. We should target even the fans. It's all very performative. Money ruined love of football and the board and the players. True, JB, the feeling is no doubt addictive. When the goal went in, I haven't heard the reaction or noise seen from the fans in a while. It was electric. So, that is where we are. I'm a mongrel, Scots, Welsh, and English. I'm good either way. Exactly that, right? So look, let's get on to Spurs. Look, is it going to be different to how we played them the last time? Let's just go through it. We'll go through it so it's out there, and we can say that we spoke about it. So look, Spurs are on an horrendous run in the Premier League. I think is it 3 draws, 3 draws and 2 losses. I think it is. Even just looking at the games that they've won and lost against the bigger sides. Grace says, "Yo, Grace is a legend. I hope you're doing extremely, extremely well." So look, Spurs have drawn against City, Newcastle. They've lost to Villa 2-1, Liverpool 2-1, Arsenal 4-1, Chelsea 1-0. So Spurs, I think, are one of those teams. I don't know. Spurs are going to be up for United. It's going to be a test. And look, Herbie, mate, I think every game is going to be a test. The thing is with Spurs, it's going to be a difficult game. And I tell you for why I think it is going to be a difficult game. Is because I think, and before I go into all of the stuff, I think it will be cagey. But I think Carrick is a one-trick pony. Look, I still support him. I am prepared to be wrong. I'm prepared to you know, give him the benefit of the doubt. But much like an Amorim, this will be his 4th game in charge, right? He still needs time. I'm not suggesting that he doesn't need time. But if I'm still seeing Maguire, if I'm still seeing this same team, and I agree with you, Dino. Nico says I'm going to head off to my pick up my new kitchen. Thanks for the stream. Apologies if I said anything that not. Look, Nikarutsu, mate. Mate, don't worry about it, buddy. Look, that people look. I say things all of the time. People misconstrue it, and people do themselves a bad thing. And look, I told him to stop. He wouldn't stop, and I've got no time for fucking dramas. So it is what it is, buddy. The bench we put out will be very telling, and this is at the moment is what I am trying to get to terms with, right? Is that I do agree. I think we Scott, mate, don't worry about it, buddy. Look, people make a choice of the things that they say. I already said to him that let me know. I respect the opinion, but then he's come back at me for no reason. And look, this is a channel. This is a community that people should be able to come to. People say things that they don't mean. And look, I think we're very good on this channel at weeding things out. And look, people got asked to stop, so they didn't. So I took it on myself for the integrity of this channel. And look, nobody wants to know dramas, for fuck's sake. I mean, look, this is an escape. This is an escape from real life, right? This is an escape. This is a place for us to come and moan about football. We can talk about things on here. It doesn't have to be football, but getting into a fully fledged angry rant on here. No. Only one needed to apologise. Exactly that. Speech Saviour says hi, hello. Spurs, yeah, about to get cooked. Says Blake. So look, one of the things I think that's clouding the judgment of mine, and I'm going to be honest here. No, I'm not a sort of person who, just because we won 3 games on the trot, thinks that we're suddenly going to, smash Spurs up. There are 2 things at play for me here, and before I go into the tactical stuff, is with Spurs, you don't know what Spurs are going to turn up. Are you going to get the Spurs that capitulate, who are going to be Spursy? Spurs are 14th, right? We're in a bit of form. Spurs had a good result against a City. City are not great. And I just don't know. It's a combination of Spurs being Spurs. I don't know if Carrick has got the tactical nous to change it. I don't know if we've got the players to change it. I think we've got a bare bone squad. So I think that this is a game that's really, really hard to call. Judging on Spurs and their results, I don't think we lose the game. I don't. I think we are in a bit of form. I think somebody said that Spurs have got injuries. I think it's going to be a tough game. I do. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think we win. It's difficult. the only reason why I'm predicting a win, and it's not, this is no tactical analysis piece. This is no mastermind from me. This is I think that Spurs are very inconsistent. I think that we've hit a bit of form. The Fulham game scares me, by the way. We didn't destroy Fulham. I thought we were good for the 2-0, the 2-1. But again, we have this ability to capitulate as well. So I do think that we win it. I do. I think that we do win it. I think we win 2-0, 2-1. Spurs always concede goals. We always concede goals. Again, Aurelian, I think that it could be a draw. I don't think we lose. So I think I would go for a win. Has it got draw written all over it? I don't know, but I think that we beat Spurs. I do. And Scott, that is exactly it. Which Spurs do we get? We know what we are now. We are rock and sock'em. We are rock and roll. We are open in the midfield, but we're trying to score more than you guys. So I think that we win just about, and I'm hoping that it's going to be Spursy. I do. Carl Jenner or Messi. Carl Jenner, mate. Let's go that. Let's have a little look. Spurs about to get cooked. JB, we feel the same team. Yeah, I do agree. Let's have a little look. Dino says it turned on JB for no reason. Exactly that. What debt has been destroyed? No. What I mean, Mike, let me check the thumbnail. Basically, mate, the debt has destroyed the window, buddy. Let me check the thumbnail just to make sure that it makes sense to me. What does it say? Ornstein confirms quiet summer. No, that's not the thing, is it? It's the title, isn't it? What does the title say? Let me check. Debt destroyed. Yeah. So look, the debt, in my opinion, has destroyed the window. Look, when I'm talking about the debt and destroying, and hi, Mike. A funny name as well, by the way. Is that we're going to be about 120, 130 million pounds in debt on top of the debt that we've got now. It's already destroyed the plans for the window. We're going to sell to buy, but a chunk of that is going to have to go on the debt, and we just don't have the money for signings. I might be wrong. I think Spurs is a Shesko game to start. I'm an old fan. Soonest relegated in the 70s. Ferguson being one result away from the sack. We can have a great rest of the season, but the variables, they could wreck us. Exactly. And I agree with you, STJ. I think that we can turn the season around. But I think instead of making it happen, as I said at the very start of the season, we are living on hopes and dreams. We're gambling. We're gambling. And will the gamble pay off? Spurs will get a draw. If we had Patrick Dorgu, the intensity was going to be there. I would have loved it. Spurs have injuries and are not in good form. They're still going to be tough. We can get the decent Spurs or the Spursies. Cool shirt. Thanks, buddy. This is my favourite shirt. Hopefully not a 0-0 draw. We should score. Bro, can I have a shout out? MJ Gaming. Bro, can I have a shout out? MJ Gaming. Well done, my friend. We have scored lots of goals this year. It's starting to get a rep as a very strong attacking side. The problem is we leak goals, although I think since Rubin is around 1 per game. And Mike, I couldn't agree with you more. Our midfield is crap. Back four is okay, but we are a strong attacking side, and I'm almost of the position that our strength, our biggest strength, and our biggest defense is our attack. And I think if your attack is very, very good, I think that Spurs will almost fear that, so they will tailor what it is that they're trying to do, which may hinder their attack. So I think our best form of defence right now is attack. 3-0, says Dino. For me, trying to be positive, has draw written all over it, but just got a feeling if we can score early, then we'll win. I think they'll change the starting lineup a bit for Spurs. Nicky says, hi, we need a Champions League spot. I do agree. I'm a United fan. We have entered into our revolving debt facility in the summer. We need cash flow until ST money comes in. I think they'll spend 100. Yeah, I don't disagree, Mike. In January, they struggle with cash flow. Agreed, mate. I completely agree with you. Glory to Man United, says Nicky. JB's pronounced Saint J. The proper spelling is Balashe. Saint J. Okay. Saint J. Legend, buddy. Gonna be rocking the new shirt for the game as well. JB, thanks, mate. Scott, I can't see them taking dividends out for the next 5 years. One thing they've got to do is refinance the bond debt, which is huge. Refinance at a decent interest rate, quite challenging from what I've been told. Yeah, and again, Mark's right. Refinancing the debt on interest, it's almost a bit like when you refinance or when you go and get a new deal for the mortgage. It's going to be interesting on the debt repayments. Be very interested when the financial accounts come out at the end of the year, Mike. What those interest rates are. Ball ache. Scott, I don't think they've taken out for 5 years, but prior they did. Doesn't excuse them. I do agree. I hope they're working on deals done for the midfield cascade. Henderson, mate, watch this space, mate. Watch this space. Do you think the league will be decided this weekend? If Arsenal beat Sunderland, there'll be 9 clear of City. No, I don't. I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. I don't. One thing I learned as well with our current revolving debt is that if our net debt goes over a certain level, the interest rate moves from 125 to 15 and then 175. And that is exactly, Mike. Exactly, Mike. And the Glazers don't care. This is what a lot of fans. And look, again, Mike, we can't expect. I'm not expecting fans to understand, right? Because fans, all we should care about is the winning and the team and the transfers. But until this debt is gone, and this is what handcuffs us. And even things like, as you say there, when you refinance a bond, the difference between 1.25 and 1.75 is absolutely massive. And I don't know if that's compound either. So I don't know if that's compound interest either. I don't know if it's straight line interest, as in you pay one price. So if it's 125 over X amount of years, that's all you pay, like a car, right? I don't know if the debt is compound, almost like a house. So that would be interesting to understand as well. I'm sure we will agree we will buy at least one midfielder. Be catastrophic, exactly. Arsenal could end up playing 4 games in a row if they both if they progress both in the Carabao Cup and the CL, would you give Casemiro a new deal? Funny how he turns it on, up, and like Salah a few months. Look at what he's doing. I don't think I would. I think it would be very, very expensive. And look, I think we need to move on. Look, what's going to happen? Are we going to keep on giving players who are 38 a deal? Our problem is we don't move on. We try to get every last inch of value out of these players. We've got to let these players go at some point. JB, Dino, we will be doing another show tonight, buddy. It's Tuesday, so we will be doing the late show tonight. Mike says, I fancy Anderson and Wharton, maybe find it out, and Ugarte as cover. It's linear interest, so cumulative over time. That's why the debt stayed static. Yeah, cool. So look, Spurs. Look, we'll go over Spurs quickly. Look, we've been here before this season. Look, we know how they're going to play. Much like most teams this season, I think pressing. Thomas Frank is very, very structured. Again, high intensity, aggressive press. I think that's what hurts Spurs, is that for the system to work, they need to be aggressive, high intensity and quick in the transition. You saw that against City in the second half. If we play that Spurs in the second half, that is the Champions League Spurs. That is the Spurs. Spurs are very much similar to us in terms of when Amrin was here. Really, really good in spells. I think they're still the same. I think that they're very, very much like how we were. I'm hoping we get the City first half. Look, City could have been miles ahead. But once City do get that press right, intensity right, they're a very, very, very good side. They do like to press man-to-man as well. So I do wonder, because of our attack and because of how good they have been, will they go one-to-one? Because we know we're going to play on the counter. Will they go for the one-to-one? Will they defend those spaces? I don't know. They try to be disciplined in defence. They do try to keep a clean sheet, but they don't keep clean sheets, really. They do concede a lot of goals, and we concede goals. So I can see both teams can really conceding goals. I think they're quite a mixed team in terms of the type of goals that they score. I think they struggle to create chances in terms of those clear-cut ones. I think they're very, very similar to us in terms of, they do create all sorts of chances, and I do think set pieces will come into it as well. I think set pieces this season are absolutely massive. So I think that, again, it's so difficult to know what Spurs, if you get the aggressive, high intensity attacking Spurs in the City second half and that Champions League Spurs, it's going to be an interesting game. I don't think we are going to lose, but I do think that is going to be spells of the game where we're going to have to defend very, very well. They struggle with consistency. And they are a specialist when they draw. Look, Dominic Solanke, that goal was amazing goal. Will he score that again? I don't think he will. Xavi Simons, interesting player. On his day, he looks fantastic. On his day, he's fantastic. I think sometimes he's in and out of games, but he seems to be coming into a little bit of form as well. So I think we need to be careful of him. Richarlison, I think, is their top goal scorer on 7 as well. I mean, he scored against us the last time. Solanke, sometimes they'll play 2 up front. Yeah, I Spurs again. They're inconsistent. So look, we know what we're going to get from Spurs. I think they are. I think the best way to describe Spurs right now are unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to get, and I think that for me is going to be the deciding factor for me is the unpredictability of Spurs. Henderson says, any word on De Ligt? De Ligt's going to be out for a couple of weeks. De Ligt is not going to be back for a couple of weeks. I think he's going to be out for possibly another month. There is no word, there's no timing on it. Carrick was asked last week, and there is no news. So I take that as he's going to be out for quite some time. So will he be back in a month? I don't know. Let me go through some of the chats again, and then we can go back through it. Yes, we're going to have another show tonight. Mike Hunt says, I fancy Anderson and Wharton. Yep. I have to sell to buy. Yes, we do. Here is to hope in Spurs at the Spurs match. I do think Ineos are on balance, running the club better, just like Ebenezer Scrooge in terms of squeezing our fans and chopping stuff. Look, I've got my strong opinions on Ineos. I'm not going to go into it because you will never get me off the soapbox, but I might jump on my soapbox tonight. Yes, it badly. I'm predicting a 4-5-1 win. Frank gets the sack an hour after the game. We're on a roll, and teams like Spurs will definitely be worried. Turbo Tony, bet you wished Sir Matt was still in charge. This is a different era, buddy. Different era. Since Ruben left, we scored 2.2 goals per game and conceded 1.6. Any word on De Ligt? No, I've done that. prediction, we go a goal down in the first and score 2 in the second against the run of play. I just look. I know what this team is, right? I would rather, and I'm not the biggest fan of this. This is a limited, low IQ, light switch team. I'd rather just go and try to outscore them. We don't have the best backs. We don't have the best left or the right backs. Our midfield is hit and miss. Look, we don't have the midfield to be competitive. Casemiro is good to a point, but let's be fair, he's not the all-action box-to-box. So I think we are limited. We're always going to lose the pivot. We're always going to lose the battle for me in the pivot. I think we need to play to our strengths. I think we just need to attack. I think if we attack, I think Spurs will shit their pants. I think our best form of defence is going to be attack. And I think at home, what have we got to lose? There is no point. There is no point playing defensive formations. There is no point being defensive because we don't have the midfield. Now, yes, we've got the midfield shield if Casemiro plays, but by that time, Spurs would already transitioned into our half. I'm probably trying to stick some crosses into the box. I would much rather get Spurs to defend in their half by attacking them. So I think our best form of defence is going to be attack, and hopefully we can always cause them issues, make them think twice. And yes, are they going to have their opportunities? Yes. Do we need Maguire to have a better game? Yes. Do we need some of these players to have a better game? Fulham, let's not kid ourselves. Was it a amazing performance? No. if we up those levels, I think if we just up those levels and we maintain this, I think that we can beat Spurs. But it's what Spurs that turn up. Mike says historically, United v Spurs is usually an open and entertaining game, even in the modern day. I think it will just be the type of games. Not shocked if for me another 3-2. I don't disagree, Mike. I think the way that we're playing right now, end to end, I think it could be any score. NU Game says, I'm Italian. Hello, where Spurs can hurt us if they show up. We're good at conceding, but good at scoring. Exactly. We didn't really play that well against Fulham. We went 2-0, but to have the belief to finish, we did. That was something we haven't done. And do you know what? I do think that plays a part. I think even if we went 2-0 down, I think this team will have the confidence to come back into it. So I don't disagree with you. We need a soapbox episode. I'll be doing one of them tonight. It's no surprise that the new signings are the standouts amongst the usual knobs in the team. I support United. I like your squad. Lamens, Casemiro, Fernandes, Maguire, Shesko, and Dalot. We'll batter Spurs. They're best. They're the best of the worst, but they're crap. Look, I'm loving the confidence. So look, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to go with, I think Spurs are going to do a Spursy. I'm not underestimating this team, by the way. I'm not basing this on the last 3 games. I'm not an arrogant person. I'm just basing this on, I think, our attack at home. I think the crowd will get on these players. I think the crowd will help us. I think that we're home, and I think the confidence is high. I think Spurs will be Spursy. I'm confident. I also confident this team will score, scare the bejesus out of us. They will do. They will scare the living crap out of us. It's going to be, look, I would rather, look, this is where I am at, right? Amarin, as much as I wanted him to succeed, but he's gone. We can talk about that at the end of the season, right? I know what this team is and what this team is capable of. I would much rather this team do what they did and put us on the edge of our seats rather than watching this team go ahead, be absolutely boring, and the result will be the same. So I would much rather, I'd rather much be entertained. Doesn't mean that I agree with it. Doesn't mean that I think that's the future. Doesn't mean that I think it's great. I think the football at times is crap. But I would much rather be on the edge of my seat. It's not good for my heart, but I would much rather be on the end of that rather than watching boring football. So it's going to be a fascinating game. I think it's going to be good, and I'm hoping that Spurs don't turn up. Mike says, I think as well that if we do drop points or lose for the first time as a fan base, we need to keep heart. We cannot expect them to go and beat into the end of the season. And exactly, Mike, and this is exactly my point. If we were to lose or draw, the same people would now be carried out. Like, I am so consistent on this. I'm expecting us to lose and draw at some point. It's not going to change my opinion. My opinion of these players all season haven't changed. I still don't think they're great. There were players. I'm still not the biggest fan of this squad, but I've known that all season. Now, this is nothing to do with a Carrick. If we were to lose, let's just say we lost some players. This is not this. Now this is not on the play. Well, it's on the players. But this is not on the coach. Now, these players are the players. Did they ask to be here? No. This is going to fall squarely on Ineos and the Glazers. I'm hoping we go for the jugular. I see a similar game to the Brighton at home 4-2. What I mean is we need to have a positive reaction. I agree with you. the squad obviously needs to clear it in the summer, but it all depends on who becomes the new manager and how much Sir Jim is willing to spend. I agree with you. It was good to see us score from a through ball against Fulham. I just want that lad to get his hair cut. So look, I think that's a good note to end. So look, guys, I am going to go. Fantastic show. I love these shows. Exactly. Big month as well. To celebrate not celebrate. That's the wrong word. To remember. I think that's important. The challenge is next year if we get Champions League or EFL, we're going to have to get a squad. Exactly. I agree with you. Been a hoot as always. Thank you, guys. So look, absolute legends. I will be back tonight. Tuesday and Thursdays are the late show. Duncan Edwards would be better than Bale. Duncan Edwards apparently was absolutely amazing. Look, I can't comment because I wasn't around, but the things I've heard. Such a sad thing. So I will be back at 9:30 tonight. So 9:30 is the evening show. And look, guys, big thank you, massive thank you. I know it was a bit of a weird start to the show, just weird, right? But look, all I'm going to say, you was around, JB. Stop playing cheeky Scott. But look, bit of a weird start to the show. And look, all I'm going to say is this: look, I know we all respect each other. We don't always have to agree, but at the end of the day, we leave it here. Next day is done and dusted. And look, if there's anything that you think is inappropriate, let me know. The email is there. Let me know if there's anything weird. But look, the conversation was weird, and look, I was forced into a position. I don't like doing it, but for the sake of the community, for the sake of the channel, we've got to do it, right? So look, legends, look, I can't thank you enough. Look, I'll never get tired of saying thank you. You guys make this channel amazing. You guys make this chat what it is. This channel is nothing without you guys. So look, massive thank you from me. And look, I will be back this evening. So 9:30, I will be back this evening, unless anything breaks, which I don't think it will do. Legends. So look, I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. And I'll be back this evening. So look, see you legends in a bit. Take care.